Have you heard what happened to Susan Boyle? Susan Boyle's journey is one for the ages. She rose to fame almost overnight after her unforgettable audition on Britain's Got Talent. Though she didn't start as the fan favorite, her powerful voice turned the tide and won over millions. From there, Susan enjoyed incredible success, even taking the crown on America's Got Talent, The Champions. With a career that brought her over $45 million in wealth, she seemed unstoppable. But then, she suddenly disappeared from the spotlight. What happened to the singer who stole our hearts? Stick around to dive into Susan's story and uncover where she is today. Susan Boyle is the ultimate reminder not to judge a book by its cover. Born on April 1, 1961, to Patrick, a miner and singer, and Bridget, a shorthand typist, Susan grew up with 4 brothers and 6 sisters in a modest council house in West Lothian, Scotland, where she still lives today. School was challenging for her, but music offered a place of peace. She sang in her parish choir, took part in local talent competitions, and found success even in her small community. Her mother, Bridget, encouraged her to try out for Britain's Got Talent, but Susan hesitated, thinking she was too old. Though the show began in 2004, she didn't audition until 2008, after her mother's passing in 2007. Having devoted herself to caring for her sick mother, Susan hadn't performed in public for years until that life-changing moment on stage. During her unforgettable audition in Glasgow, Susan Boyle stunned the judges and audience alike with her powerful rendition of I Dreamed a Dream. Her voice soared, earning her a standing ovation, and Judge Amanda Holden called it the biggest wake-up call ever for those who had judged Susan by her appearance. Her performance quickly drew the attention of celebrities like Demi Moore and Ashton Kutcher, who showed their support on social media. Susan's audition video soon went viral, becoming the most viewed video on YouTube at the time. Despite finishing second in the competition and grappling with exhaustion, Susan launched into her new life as an artist, joining her fellow contestants on tour and diving into her debut album. Her story became an inspiration worldwide, proving that dreams can come true at any age. Released in November 2009, her debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, shattered records, selling over 2 million copies in its first week. It still holds the title as the fastest-selling debut album by a female artist in history. From the start, Susan's dream seemed as far away as the stars. The youngest of 6 sisters and 4 brothers, she was born to her mother, Bridget, at 47, when resources were stretched thin. Her birth was nearly life-threatening, and a brief lack of oxygen left Susan with learning challenges, or so she was later told. But at the height of her career, Susan discovered something entirely new about this diagnosis. School was a tough place for Susan. In a heartfelt interview, she described being relentlessly bullied by both classmates and teachers, saying, "I was a slow learner. You get left behind in a system that wants to rush on. You know, that was what I felt was happening to me." Sadly, teachers sometimes punished her with a belt for struggling academically, and classmates cruelly nicknamed her Susie Simple. These painful experiences stunted her growth and made school a daily challenge. Taking the stage on Britain's Got Talent was Susan's way of proving her tormentors wrong and showing the world her true talent. Her powerful performance was a kind of quiet victory over those who had doubted her. Later, she recorded, "You'll see." Susan's path to success was far from easy. In 2011, she opened up about a heartbreaking part of her childhood. Along with an undiagnosed learning disorder, she also had epilepsy. Though doctors had correctly identified the condition, her parents and teachers struggled to cope with it. For many famous musicians like Sir Elton John, Neil Young, and Lil Wayne, epilepsy is a known challenge, but in Susan's case, her diagnosis was gravely mishandled. Leave a star emoji if you never forget her screen. At school, Susan's seizures became more fuel for her bullies. She remembers fainting during lessons, only to wake up with classmates mocking her and calling her names. The situation wasn't much better at home. While her parents tried to protect her during episodes, They often became overwhelmed and left her to handle things on her own. If Susan asked for extra support, her father would dismiss her as touchy. Tragically, her epilepsy was misunderstood as part of her learning challenges, so it went untreated. Unsurprisingly, Susan graduated from school with few qualifications, which made her job search difficult. Her undiagnosed learning disability added another hurdle. She applied to countless places but rarely got a call back. And when she did, she struggled through the interviews. Eventually, she landed a position as a trainee cook at West Lothian College. But it lasted only 6 months. Most of the time, she moved between government training programs, never finding stable work or a reliable income. Yet even with these challenges, Susan found joy in performing at local venues, a small but meaningful way to share her passion for music. This was the extent of her career, until a tragic loss gave her the push to chase a dream she'd once thought was out of reach. Curious about how Susan turned her life around? Let's dive into the next chapter of her incredible journey. Despite a challenging family life, Susan Boyle has always valued forgiveness and selflessness. Growing up with little, she held on to her modesty and famously said during Britain's Got Talent, "Never been married, never been kissed." These values shaped many of her life choices. After her father's passing, her siblings gradually moved out of their 4-bedroom council house, leaving Susan alone to care for her elderly, ailing mother. With only her 10-year-old cat, Pebbles, for company, Susan stayed by her mother's side. Even after achieving global fame and financial success, Susan chose to remain in her childhood home, embracing its simple comforts. A neighbor recalled how, after her mother Bridget's passing, Susan didn't leave the house for days, avoiding even the phone or the doorbell. A devoted Roman Catholic, she continues to sing in her church choir and visits elderly members of the congregation, providing company and support. Susan describes her pre-stardom life as mundane and routine. In a 2010 episode of The Oprah Winfrey Show, she shared insights into her experiences and, in 2012, opened up about her Asperger's syndrome diagnosis, shedding light on her journey. In a December 2013 interview with the BBC, Susan Boyle opened up about her epilepsy diagnosis. She also spoke candidly about internet dating, joking, "Knowing my luck, I'd go out on a date and you'd find my limbs scattered around various Blackburn dustbins." In July 2013, Susan publicly supported the Better Together campaign, favoring Scotland's continued place in the United Kingdom in the 2014 independence referendum. "I am a proud, patriotic Scot, passionate about my heritage and country, but I am not a nationalist," she shared, adding, "We have retained our proud identity while being a part of Britain." In addition to being a non-drinker, Susan was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes in June 2013. In November 2014, the media reported that Susan had a boyfriend, likely her first, who was close to her age. After a minor stroke in 2022, Susan shared her experience on Britain's Got Talent in June 2023, revealing her resilience in the face of new health challenges. What keeps Susan Boyle in her childhood home even after achieving worldwide fame? Despite her modest appearance on Britain's Got Talent, with no flashy attire or elaborate style, Susan's powerful voice captivated everyone, especially the judges. The dramatic shift from years of bullying to the standing ovation she received on that stage attracted global attention. Her audition went viral in a matter of days, amassing over 100 million views, and sparked renewed interest in her past performances like her soulful rendition of Cry Me a River from 1999. Although Susan faced health challenges and fatigue throughout the show, she pushed through, making it to the finals and finishing as runner-up to the dance troupe Diversity. Yet, she had already won the most important battle, proving her doubters wrong. Her story inspired countless people, showing that it's never too late to follow your dreams, regardless of age or background. Want to see what else makes Susan's journey so powerful? Join us as we explore more of her incredible life. Susan Boyle's debut album, I Dreamed a Dream, was an overwhelming success upon its release in November 2009. It quickly became one of the fastest-selling debut albums by a female artist, moving over 2 million copies globally in just the first week and breaking UK sales records. Pre-orders for the album soared, setting records on Amazon, and by year's end, it was the biggest-selling record worldwide, with over 9 million copies sold. Billboard reported that it achieved the highest first-week sales for a debut album by a female artist in SoundScan history, dating back to 1991. Her phenomenal success led to a Guinness World Record for the fastest-selling debut album by a female artist, the highest first-week sales, and the record for the oldest person to reach #1 with a debut album in the UK. Susan's powerful voice and inspiring journey captivated audiences worldwide, especially in America. When she appeared on America's Got Talent, she was warmly welcomed, a stark contrast to the days of being overlooked. Embracing her newfound success, Susan was no longer afraid to take center stage. No longer a spectator in her own life, she was finally living her dreams. Following the massive success of her debut album, she released The Gift in 2010 and Someone to Watch Over Me in 2011. After a short break, she returned with Standing Ovation, The Greatest Songs from the Stage, in 2012, followed by Hope in 2014 and A Wonderful World in 2016. Despite her dedication, health concerns eventually led her to take a break from music. Many thought her career was over, but in 2019, Susan surprised fans with 10, a compilation of her best work that once again showed her remarkable resilience. Yet, with Susan's triumphs came a measure of sadness. Fans began to see how her health diagnosis had subtly reshaped her life, softening her once vibrant presence. Although she still has so much to offer, Susan now finds comfort in a quieter life away from the spotlight. Beneath her remarkable success, there lingers a note of quiet reflection. Reflecting on her work, Susan once shared, "I had a lot of fun making the album, and I hope that the public likes it as much as I enjoyed making it." Her words offer a glimpse into her enduring passion for music, even as she steps back from the glitz and glamour. Britain's Got Talent launched Susan Boyle into stardom, but the demanding pace quickly took its toll. While she loved singing, fame was overwhelming and unfamiliar. After the show, Susan faced a whirlwind of interviews, paparazzi, and relentless critics. Despite her popularity, she ultimately placed second, and the intense media scrutiny left her utterly exhausted. Right after the finale, she was hospitalized, and it was later revealed she had suffered a breakdown. Comment Susan if you believe his music will never be forgotten. Reports emerged that the stress and exhaustion led Susan to lash out, with rumors claiming she threw water at a staff member and expressed her frustration with the show. Staff at her London residence even called the police due to concerns over her behavior, and she was admitted to a mental health facility shortly after. News of her breakdown spread fast, exposing the toll the competition had taken on her mental and physical health. There was talk that producers had overlooked her well-being, focusing on ratings over participant care. Though the UK's media regulator, Ofcom, considered an inquiry, it ultimately did not pursue it. This experience taught Susan to approach her schedule with more care, but the demands of a busy tour made it difficult. In 2013, she finally received an accurate diagnosis of Asperger's syndrome, revealing her childhood label of brain damaged had been a misdiagnosis. For years, she believed a minor birth complication had caused permanent damage, making this new diagnosis both heartbreaking and relieving. Now, Susan could receive the proper support. In an interview with The Guardian, she shared that being labeled brain damaged had felt incredibly unfair, knowing she simply had her own way of doing things. She expressed hope that her diagnosis would encourage more kindness toward neurodivergent individuals, saying, "I think people will treat me better because they will have a much greater understanding of who I am and why I do what I do." Her honesty won her immense support and admiration. That same year, Susan's love of chocolate met a challenge when she was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes. Adjusting to both her autism diagnosis and a new lifestyle was no easy feat. During the pandemic, Susan took extra precautions, pausing her music career and staying home for over 2.5 years. Susan's journey wasn't all public support and successful albums. In 2010, she bought a new house but faced hostility from neighbors who threw rocks, attempted break-ins, and set off fireworks at her property. Ultimately, she returned to her childhood home and gifted the new house to her niece. Tragically, her sister Bridie passed away from cancer in 2013. Bridie had been a rock for Susan, defending her against media scrutiny and offering support during a public feud with their brother, Jerry. Tension arose after Susan lent Jerry £75,000 to help his struggling business, upsetting her other siblings. Jerry publicly accused her of lying after she claimed he'd threatened suicide. Yet, in 2016, Susan's public breakdown at Heathrow Airport ultimately brought the siblings back together. Susan Boyle's health challenges continued into recent years. In May 2022, she suffered a minor stroke, making it harder for her to work on music. After a heartfelt performance with the West End cast of Les Miserables on Britain's Got Talent, Susan shared how much the return to stage meant to her, saying, "Last April I suffered a minor stroke and I thought it would be crazy to be back on stage, but I've done it." She later revealed on Instagram that she had undergone extensive speech therapy to prepare for singing I Dreamed a Dream again. Despite her health struggles, Susan still performs when she can, though she mostly stays out of the public eye. Recently, she admitted that not having children remains one of her biggest regrets. However, she reportedly enjoys a stable, happy relationship with an American man whose identity she keeps private. In 2016, she mentioned casually chatting with an American doctor, though she dismissed it as nothing serious. Now, however, she seems to have found lasting companionship, with her partner quietly supporting her on special occasions. If you are still listening to Susan's songs today, comment "Timeless" below. While fans eagerly await new music, Susan Boyle remains a cherished presence in the world of entertainment. Her resilience continues to inspire. And though we wait patiently for her next musical chapter, we know her remarkable spirit shines on. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Susan Boyle's incredible life and career. If you enjoyed this story and want to see more inspiring content, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Leave a comment below to share your thoughts and let us know who you'd like us to feature next.